Hey guys, we are so thrilled to invite someone who has gone through some of the most competitive exams in the country. He's a chartered accountant with an All India rank with certifications from IIM Ahmedabad, and he has a huge following on platforms such as YouTube and LinkedIn. Mr. Anurag Singal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Pratham. And it's like role reversal because I had hosted you last year or year before last on my YouTube channel, and your exposition on the ACCA was quite useful. I think that has crossed some 20,000 views already. So people are watching that and taking cues about the ACCA because there's a lot of mystery surrounding this course. So thank you for inviting me to your channel.
Absolutely. In fact, why don't you first talk a little bit about your YouTube channel and a little bit about LinkedIn and other platforms, so anybody watching can also start following you.
So basically, like on my YouTube channel, the whole objective is that in terms of careers, there is a lot of information asymmetry in India. So people are really not aware of choices, and most of the choices which people take are the default ones, which भी क्लास 12 के बाद आप सीए कर लीजिए, ओके नहीं है तो ठीक है आप एमबीए कर लीजिए, यूपीएससी कर लीजिए, बट यू आर नॉट रियली अवेयर ऑफ व्हाट आर द चॉइसेस, what could be the pros and cons of each career decision. Coupled with this, things like motivational stuff, and I have a hashtag Mr. Practical on social media where I talk about contemporary things from a lens of a person who would view it very objectively, and that has given me some following on LinkedIn, on Facebook, etc. So my whole objective of being on social media is the fact that maybe we were lucky to have mentors around us, but today when I see that and I get calls from tier 2, tier 3 cities in the country where people have a lot of ambition and a lot of energy with respect to doing good in their careers, but they don't have that ecosystem which fosters it. So for example, in my case, chartered accountancy came at default because since class 4 my grandfather used to give us accounting books, and we would check the posting from bills to journals to ledgers. So it was in the air. But there are a lot of people, different choices, especially the non-conventional ones. So if you look at this channel over the last 3.5, 4 years, we have created a lot of content and also hosted a lot of senior people ranging from a Nilesh Shah of Kotak Mutual Fund to a Radhika Gupta of Edelweiss or R. Gopalakrishnan. The idea is to expose you to content related to your careers or financial planning. And I also give some sort of my random motivational stuff that you should be future ready. So that's my objective there.
Awesome. So guys, whoever wants to check it out, please do go and subscribe. And just to give you a quick brief on the reason we've invited him here, Anurag here, is at Zell, on this channel, we try to ensure that we help candidates with some certain takeaways to help them in their academic journey and their career, depending on where they are. Now, because you've gone through a strong academic journey, as well as because of your channel and because of your experience, you have enough knowledge that anybody would like to understand what the next step should be, they can learn from you. So I'm going to try and frame questions which will not only explain us your journey, but if somebody is just listening, maybe they've just crossed grade 12 and they're confused, or they're stuck somewhere in their journey, maybe something from here will be a good takeaway. So let me just jump first right into it and ask you that at what point going back do you recall what events triggered the idea that you need to pursue CA?
So there's a very interesting story to this. As I told you, we were exposed to the world of accountancy since class 4. So my Nanaji used to give me 50 rupees to check that entire set of manual accounts. Like all the bill books are there, and you got to trace the purchase quantity amount from there into the bill book, and from there and into the ledger. So till the trial balance, that was our scope. The figures should be flowing correctly, and we used to get $50 for that. I took accountancy in class 9, 10, but then I took up science in class 11, bitten by the fact that, again, you read newspapers, you see an IIT plus IIM combination giving you an investment banking job in New York, 1 crore plus is the salary. They don't consider purchasing power parity also. You are a topper in your batch since years. So what does the default choice tell you? Take up science. So I took up science. For 2 years, I wrestled with the concepts of physics, chemistry. But what happens there is that your innate strength is commerce, because you are a Marwadi, you have been exposed in that business ecosystem. So when we were supposed to calculate momentum of a fan, I used to ask my teachers that I am more intrigued by the costing of that fan, or how would one sell and make money out of it. And they used to laugh that then you are in the wrong place. After class 12, I did take a lot of engineering exams. I got like a state rank 180 in West Bengal, which would have given me good engineering choices. But the point was that I realized that no, this is not something which I want to continue for the rest of my life. And then I shifted therefore to commerce, took up admission in St. Xavier's, and yeah, CA then becomes a default choice. My elder sister was a CA, my role model, my uncles were chartered accountants. So that's how it all started.
So tell me, you realized at what point that engineering is not for you? Because the problem today when students come and ask us is not, they know what CA is about, but they can't at the age of 16, 18, even 20 know whether studying CA for, let's say, 5-6 years minimum, and then spending the next 25 years in that field is the right field for them at the age of 18. How should someone who's listening, who's confused, process in their mind whether the way to make decisions should be step 1, step 2, step 3? Can you try and define that?
Okay, so I always tell people that if you look at a watch and if you are intrigued by the artistic aspect of that watch, arts is your chosen thing. If you look at a watch and think about the engineering behind it, what makes it look so fantastic and what very precise in terms of Swiss watches, for example, then science is your cup of tea. And if you think like a banya that भाई इसमें धंधा कहाँ है, कहाँ पैसे बना सकते हैं इसको बेच के, then it's commerce is your scheme of things. Now, chartered accountancy after class 12 with 1 million students in the country is definitely one of the most promising things. But when you take up CA, please remember that there are, again, with every degree, there are pros and cons. So the pros of CA in India is that it's a very, very well accepted degree. Your first month's salary is going to cover your official fees, which the CA Institute takes from you. So people from not a very advantaged economic background can go for it. Course is fantastic. Yeah, there's a focus on memory, which should go away in course of time. The cons again is the inverted structure where, a lot of people enter the foundation, clear the foundation, but after 5 years having completed articleship, in the final, they are left high and dry. They are not able to clear in 5 attempts, 7 attempts. And then at the age of 26, 27, it becomes a difficulty. If you're able to clear in the first attempt, you become a rank holder. So there is this focus on attempts in the CA system, which is very, very unique in our country. So if you're a first attempt CA, you are branded like that, you are someone, or a second attempt CA. And since my wife also runs a job portal called 𝐒𝐩𝐸portal.com, there are clear specifications from clients that we want a first attempt chartered accountant. And the HR has no freaking clue about even the number of subjects which are there in CA. But it is the industry norm that the guy should be a first attempt CA. Articleship again is a non-standardized experience. So you can get a very good articleship experience in, let's say, a BDO or a Grant Thornton or a Big Four, or a mid-sized firm like a Lodha company, Singhi and company, etc. Or in Bombay, there are a lot of them. Or maybe in even proprietorship firms, there are very good principles, but there are also always bad fish also along with good fish in the pond. So you might end up with someone who might end up exploiting you and making you work very, very hard. You don't get the brand. These stipends are definitely one long-standing demand that they should be there. So primarily, and then the one good thing about the CA course is that it adds as a very good base for your subsequent education. So in India, for example, if you're CA plus MBA, or you do a course like CA plus ACCA, CA plus CPA, CA plus CIMA, so the CA plus thing is now trending. So when a student, as you said, wants to take this decision, you have to be very, very circumspect about the fact that what are your strengths and weaknesses? Do you have that patience? And you don't land up in a Big Four, are you prepared for that? And it doesn't matter really. Even I've seen people working in small firms eventually landing up big in life. Or even the ones who have not cracked it in 1-2 attempts, also, let's say 5 attempts, 10 attempts, also doing well in life. Are you prepared for that mentally? I think if you're prepared for it mentally, it is much better. Because otherwise, there is this lot of cribbing on social media which happens, which I am a big, I hate that kind of a cribbing. So that's how I would say that you should go for it.
So suggest your inputs on one thing. When a lot of people who are IPCC cleared but have failed 3, 4, 5 times, or maybe even worse, for 3, 4, 5 years, okay, multiple attempts, they've not cleared their final CA. They are in the worst position, the most precarious position, because they don't know whether they should leave it since they've spent 5, 6, 7 years, and continuing it is just their morale is down. For some reason, they can't clear one subject again and again. And there is just this place where they are stuck because they've given the last 8 years in CA. So there is no other backup. So they can't just come out of it. They've been working in their articleship position and just, a normal graduate position. And the struggle is that, so by the way, we get these calls from a lot of students who find shortcuts to saying that, okay, a CA I'm not able to complete. For example, because we are into ACCA, they say that fine, let's take ACCA because there are certain exemptions. Or, let's do CPA because I think I can finish it within 1 year. So they try to then look for alternatives. The question is that at what point should they cut themselves off from CA or decide that, no, if I've given the last 6 years, I will not leave it till I've completed my chartered accountancy.
So there are two concepts here which I would like to highlight, Pratham. One is that, let's say, once you are in a losing streak, so the classic example that in wrestling, for example, if you are not successful in the 65 kg category, the trainer is going to put you in a 56 kg category, make you win. And once you start winning, your confidence moves up a big thing. And then you can always take up the more challenging category maybe, and you are going to win. Now, not clearing in 8 attempts, 10 attempts takes a big toll on your system, because the default reaction you will get from friends, relatives is that tu man laga ke padhai nahi karta.
Right.
There are a lot of reasons on a strategic level, on an intelligence level, on an interest level, and maybe on the evaluation level why you might not be clearing. You might just be having a bad phase in life. It's always good that now there are so many options which are coming in India, ACCA. So as I learned from you, there are 30,000 students who are pursuing ACCA in India. There are 2,000 members. CPA, they've started conducting exams in India every month from this calendar year. Or for that matter, CIMA. But yeah, CIMA doesn't really find widespread acceptability in India, or go for an MBA. Idea is that, like in typical stock markets, you cannot get obsessed with a stock just because you bought it at 400. Now it's trading at 60 rupees. So somewhere you have to cut your losses and move on with life. Otherwise, theoretically, you are going to become an ADAG stock.
Right.
And trade at zero. So, you have to take that call, and leaving CA can always be a very, very emotional thing. So don't leave CA. So the way I would put it is that succeed in something else, and always you can come back and take the exam with a different strategy at the higher confidence level, and God willing, you're going to clear.
Yeah, plus I think if you do pursue something simultaneously, and let's say you complete a CPA or an ACCA, let's say within a year, in the middle of your CA attempts, and you can at least start your career and then parallelly
simultaneously. Absolutely. Yeah. So I know a very good junior of mine who did not clear in 5 attempts. Then I told him, you start your job as a semi-qualified. And somehow in the startup world of Bangalore, he moved up to a salary of 15 lakhs because he was fundamentally very good. And then, confidence goes to a very different level. These exams, any exams in India, CAT or UPSC or CA, a lot of it is about being confident about yourself. So,
true. So, if you went through CA, and then what made you decide to get to now pursue MBA, and you went to IIM and IIM A? So it was the highest pedestal of all the decisions you are making.
Yeah. So the way I would put it is that, 2006, I had completed my graduation. I was in the midst of CA. There was this choice that we had cleared CA inter, and we could have gone into these schools at that point of time. But I was once bitten, twice shy, because that 2 years of science meant that I wanted to succeed completely in something and then go for something else.
Right.
It was always risky to again jump onto the CAT pedestal. And so maybe, honestly admitting, I was a bit skeptical about कि एक बार CA छोड़ के एक बार अगर MBA path में चले गए. So instead I was getting an articleship at Deloitte. So I chose to pursue that articleship.
Right.
Once I completed CA, तो ठीक है भाई, doing a good job, चलो life set है. And then, but after 4-5 years, you realize that, today, just being a subject matter expert makes you gives you a very unilateral perspective. That if you look at a business transaction, all you can think about is, so I was fortunate enough that I got a role in corporate strategy and financial planning at the Tatas and Birlas. But I would always look at things from the prism of an accountant or someone who would just look at it from a gatekeeper perspective, ki numbers kahan hai and where is the NPV IRR. But what is the largest strategic perspective? How about launching a startup and running it for 1.5-2 years, burning cash? Those kind of things an typical accountant cannot see red on the P&L. But think of all the startups in India. They've burned cash, attained critical mass, and today are doing well. So all those kind of things, typical MBA teaches you. And this 1-year MBA, IIM Ahmedabad PGPX came as a very good thing. And I mean, it just surpassed my expectations in terms of what this program gave to me. So a lot of people have different expectations, placement and networking, etc. My clear objective was I wanted to be there in the classroom, work on those case studies, and get a larger perspective that, see, a 1-year MBA cannot make you an expert in supply chain management. It cannot make you an expert in marketing, but at least you're aware of those concepts and you can discuss with people, and that becomes a far more enriching thing. And of course, IIM Ahmedabad makes it all the more good an event because of the case study pedagogy that they adopt. The professors are not going to teach you anything on blackboard, ki bhai, these are the concepts, learn them. They are going to give you a case, solve it, and then we are going to discuss in the classroom. And when you're discussing in the classroom, it's like, you are there and someone who counters you is an army officer with 20 years of work ex. And then so often it happens that there was a case study on this insurance company which the professor is trying to give us some inputs. And you have one of the batchmates who said, I've spent 12 years in TCS in the insurance domain in the US. Right. Okay, so I know exactly what this case is talking about. You are initially it becomes overwhelming because you are that in your own small world, a big guy, topper, rank holder, as you would say. There it becomes, you are very humbled. I mean, you interact with the 2-year guys, this 1-year guys, the professors, walking encyclopedias. So you look at this professor, he's teaching you economics and he's so unassuming. And you suddenly realize that he's in the Reserve Bank of India Monetary Policy Committee. And you are dazzled. Where am I? So that 1 year definitely adds a lot in terms of your bandwidth expansion.
So, we, to all our students at Zell, we say there's one sort of dialogue, you can call it, which we've realized over a few years is that the first career choice you take, okay, the first academic qualification for your career, in your case, let's say it was CA. That, again, from your end, since apparently your Nana ji would help you with, would plant that seed. For I know a lot of people that doesn't happen. They reach the age of 17, 18. Their friends are pursuing it or they scored decent marks in their accounting subjects in college. Parents say CA bahut acha hai, this, that. The first choice they take is based on maybe their strengths or what others perceive their strength as. So you become a CA. But the second qualification you take, ideally, that should be based out of your self-awareness about just because IIM or just because MBA is popular or CA plus MBA is popular, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right choice for you, right? So in that sense, if we go back, I'm going to ask you this question, try and see if we can, create that scenario. Let's say somebody who's listening just gave their 12th, okay? And they are current and they are pursuing BCom from a decent college, but they've decided I want to do something simultaneously with BCom. What would be, and they have no idea what. So it could be CA, it could be something in the future that they are open to it. If you had to break it down, 3 things, for example, which somebody in their 12th standard should think about before making their career decision.
It's a very difficult thing. There is no equation that one could say ki X plus Y plus Z. What is your score? And you can just choose it. I think here what a lot of good inputs that I can give here is that maybe talk to people, both who are successful in this field, whichever field you want to speak, as well as the people who are not successful in that field. For example, who have failed and then realize that, okay, agar वैसा होता है कि I am fail mode में, so what would life be? If I am successful and what am I doing? So for example, when people talk to me about law firms taking the CLAT. So I tell them that, why don't you, after in your class 12, go to a law firm and spend a couple of days just observing people. Kar kya rahe hain log? And would I love to do that on a daily basis? Right. Talk to people. What are the challenges in their lives? Don't talk to a man on the street, because he'll be biased and maybe he's going to talk only goody things. Talk about some realist. Talk to some realist guy who's going to tell you even the dark side of the story. For example, law firms. You would say that, okay, 16 lakhs package from a national law school after class 12, 4 years, and you are in AZB and partners and CAM and SAM. But are you prepared, let's say, for 14 hours a day in terms of clocking working hours or investment banking? So talk to people. And, there is, and one thing is that, even if you step on the wrong pedestal, it is today, fortunately, people are able to shift tracks also. So on my YouTube channel also, I have interviewed people who after CA have gone to HR, which is completely unrelated. Right. Who have become photographers after failing in CA inter multiple times. Oh, wow. And now earning much more than a very successful CA would.
And more fulfilling. Yeah. More fulfilling for them.
Yeah, more fulfilling. So one thing that today, with the kind of information we are having access to, the number of people you can access on LinkedIn today, LinkedIn has made things far more demographic in terms of democratic, the right word. You can access even the partner of a big four firm and say, sir, there are a lot of good people in the world who are saying, okay, call me in a weekend, we'll discuss.
True.
So make those conscious choices, you are going to succeed.
Right. So this was point one, where you, out of the three things that a 12th standard student.
So one is due diligence, therefore. Two is actually look at that book and try to spend 4-5 hours with that study material. Instead of just someone saying ki CA is good or ACCA is good, take the study material and say, can you spend like 4 years or 3 years of your life with these kind of books? So that is important. And third, maybe is just intuitive. I mean, sometimes it can give you a wrong thing also, but that gut thing, you have to train your gut over a period of time. Kai baar hota hai na, you have to just have a leap of faith. Sometimes, like, you change jobs, or when you quit a job for an entrepreneur journey also, there is not really a mathematical formula that can give you a decision. It's a leap of faith. Or maybe when you started Zell, you could have also opted for something else in life, which would have been more stable, predictable. But then it was a leap of faith for you. So leap of faith will be my third point. So one, due diligence. Two, spend time with that content which you have to study. And third will be kind of a leap of faith. After all that due diligence, the gut also becomes more intelligent. Then jump.
Yeah, I was just going to say that another way to put leap of faith is, also cultivate your gut instinct, because no matter how much logic and how much you talk. So today, if they talk to both of us and we both might give even the exact same response, but if that person we are responding to is, for example, your photographer reference, we would be giving him wrong advice if he listened to us, because his intuition, his gut would tell him to go more towards the creative side. So I agree. So you said due diligence, you said study the books as well as go with your gut.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Then tell us one thing that, so I'm going to ask a slightly different question. I don't want to go with the same questions that you must have been asked multiple times, but if you have to tell the audience that in your entire journey, academic journey specifically, what were the major mistakes you made, which if going back the last 10, 15 years, you would have not, and how would it have impacted your life in a better way?
Mistakes, yeah. And I'll be very honest with my mistakes. Class 11 and 12 science, big jhatka for me. After being first in class for 8 years continuously, you get a report card, you have failed in 3 subjects, you must work hard to get a pass certificate. I have seen those kind of phases also in life. One good thing which I learned from my class 11 and 12 stint is don't plunge into something just because it's the happening thing. You have to spend time with an H.C. Verma physics sums and see, do I like it? And stick to one book. So no, class 11, 12, the mistake which I did was that every book that I came to know of, I would buy that. So at the end of the 2 years, maybe I had 18 books on physics and 15 books on chemistry, and I didn't have a freaking idea about the concept still. or maybe, you know, those coaching centers, the choices that you make, don't just make necessarily the popular choices. Go and speak to that person, be a part of that classroom, take a trial class. So maybe, you know, in a very big setting, maybe 50, 100 students, I would go to a chemistry class and there would be those toppers sitting on the front bench who would say, yeah, I understood. And they would be like, you know, super in that. And at the back bench, I would just take down those notes, trying to just scribble that down. And I would realize, ki, bhai, where am I? Right. And a more focused teacher, which I later got, maybe me and maybe a friend of mine, 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, a more focused group, and maybe average students. So the choice of books, stick to a very limited number of books. Choice of teacher, look at the setting in which you are going to excel, a large setting. So maybe in a CA setting, I was very good in that large setting because I was that front bencher who would instantly give all the answers and be the blue-eyed boy of the teachers. So that is mistakes, and those are the mistakes maybe. And, you know, talking to too many people is also one mistake that I would have made at different points of my time. Not everyone is your well-wisher. Not everyone can really have the bandwidth to give you the right answers. But in India, people are so confident in spite of being shallow. I mean, that is one thing that one needs to be wary of. You know, they are going to tell you CFA कर लो L3. L3 का full form level 3 है, उसको ये भी नहीं पता. But वो आपको बोलेगा उतना confidence के साथ कि पता नहीं कोई बड़ा न्यूयॉर्क का investment banker ही है. Do that kind of diligence. Maybe, you know, those are the different things. And have good friends. You know, being lonely also becomes quite a challenge. Maybe the last point that I would tell here, that I could clearly tell you that in my CA foundation, I had studied the maximum quantum as compared to my inter or final. But the only thing that made the difference was that I didn't get a rank here. And in inter and final, I both got a rank because I had a very good set of friends. Staying connected also helps you, because when you are with a pile of books, you realize कि भाई, you know, certainly you can get intimidated by that entire content. Absolutely. But you talk to a friend and he says, हाँ, मैं भी पढ़ रहा हूँ, भूल जा रहा हूँ, मेरे को भी पढ़ रहा हूँ, याद नहीं हो रहा. So you feel कि ठीक है, I am not alone. Yeah. So strategically, it makes a lot of sense to get connected with a core cohort of friends. That's important.
Okay. So just I wanted to take a slight digress from the academic journey and ask you a little bit about the fact that you have a strong presence on LinkedIn and YouTube, Facebook. Am I missing any platform? Quora, probably?
Quora, yeah, right.
So what I wanted to understand from you is, or what you can tell our audience is, what is the need of the hour today and maybe 10 years into the future from today about having a strong brand presence, personal brand presence on these platforms? So what should you do to get started? Whether you take LinkedIn, you take YouTube, any of them. And today, when you've reached a certain, I think you've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I've seen your YouTube channel has grown. I've been subscribed to it since a couple of years. What are the benefits that you've seen with respect to building your profile over the last 2-3 years? How would somebody who's listening say that whether I'm studying CA, whether I'm doing nothing, whether I'm working, the need of building your brand profile?
Yeah, and I can really, because I have gone through that thick and thin. So one, I can tell you that it helps a lot. So let's say I'm in Calcutta, in Mumbai, in Worli, I'm having some cutting chai. And there's someone who walks into you and says, "Are you Anurag Singal?" I'm like, yeah.
Oh, really? You get as if you were actually part of a Bollywood.
It happens. You know.
Yeah.
An airport, you are waiting with your boss for the just check-in to happen. And someone comes and says that, you know, I also want to pursue the 1-year MBA. You are Anurag. I've been following you. Oh. And you take a step back and see. So those are the good things that happen, you know. And so let's say on my mentorship app, I get calls from tier 3, tier 2 cities. People who have no freaking idea ki kya karna hai life mein, or maybe who are in the loop of failure. How do they come out of it? So one, it gives that glamour is intoxicating, but of course it's short-lived. The impact is long-lived. So you change lives, especially with the kind of theme which I follow is about giving people good food for thought for making the right choices in life. So trying to become a Krishna to an Arjun, because, you know, in life we have a lot of Arjuns who are depressed, who are confused, who are mesmerized by the reality of the world. A good mentor is very important. So I am personally very passionate about that. So on social media, the best thing that happens is that you get instant feedback also. So as compared to, let's say, spending a year to write a book and maybe some people are going to read it, on social media, the moment you put something good, it becomes viral. I have seen posts which garner maybe 1 million views. My mock interview at IIM Ahmedabad, which was just a mock interview, one sudden day I realized that it was on trending on YouTube, garnered 1 million views on that weekend. And there's just one video like that. But the thing is that you get instant feedback. There's so many people who realize that your content is good. How do you monetize this? Because that's a very important thing. So you become you emerge as a thought leader on a particular topic.
Correct.
So let's say financial modeling. And then what happens is that you say that, okay, I have proven myself. People see me as posting things on financial modeling on a sustained level on LinkedIn for the last 1 year. They know that this guy knows his stuff. And when you can launch a course on Udemy on financial modeling, on advanced MS Excel, they see you as someone who knows his subject.
Expert.
As an expert on that matter. For example, if you would be posting things on LinkedIn, you will be my go-to guy for anything related to ACCA. And there are a lot of calls which I get about ACCA, and I say, hey, you can talk to Pratham because I see him posting good content on LinkedIn, etc. So that's how, in a digital world, maybe we don't know each other so much. But right. Those posts which we create on various platforms, they help us understand. In a period of time, you realize that ye banda janta hai apna dhanda. Right. So you have to create that impression that helps. So glamour and all, yeah. And you have to be open for feedback. For example, on my YouTube channel, I was not getting views initially. And there was this youngster who suddenly came and told me, ki, Bhaiya, you make good content, but your thumbnails are not good.
Right.
Why don't you engage a visual designer to do that? I posted it on Internshala, got a guy who would do it at 10 rupees a thumbnail. Wasn't a big investment.
Right.
But it changed a lot of. He made some 250, 300 thumbnails. I just revamped that whole thing. Views went up. So you get a lot of good instant feedback, as I told you. The posts which go wrong, you are also heckled by the people also sometimes.
Negative feedback, criticism and all.
Yeah. That also happens. So social media is a double-edged sword. Some part of your life, but you should, when you want to give back to society in some way, at least your thoughts, your experiences, it should be a good thing to do.
So to summarize the benefits and the need of it, number one would be to try and establish yourself, whether as a thought leader or essentially an expert in anything that you think you're good at. That is one. And then the upside is the followers and the fans who run up. So I'm surprised that being in I remember recently you said you had come to Bombay. And if somebody passing by will see you and stop by and ask you because they're following you on YouTube, I was not expecting that is also something that happens.
It's happened so many times. Bombay, Delhi, Kolkata. It happens.
So what if somebody wants to start, okay, but they don't know how to? Is there and I'm a very system-driven guy, an SOP-driven guy. So if again you have to give them the first 2 or 3 steps, one would be Gary Vaynerchuk's favorite thing, just start posting of something of value. But people are very hesitant, very reluctant to get started because to build momentum, see, once you reach a certain, even if it's 1,000 subscribers or on an average, 100 likes per post, once you get that, then building on that is much easier. But that's 0 to 100 or 0 to 1,000, right? It's difficult. You don't know if you're on the right track. You don't know if people will, how will they react to your post? What if there is, again, negative feedback before you're strong enough to make your point across? So how would you suggest the first maybe 1, 2 or 3 steps?
The first step is to get started. Don't think so much. I mean, take a camera, shoot something and post it. People are going to give you feedback. Ki bhai, ye acha hai, ye kharab hai. Especially your near and dear one. 20 people to whom you are going to send the video, 18 are not going to watch it also. Today, we are inundated with a lot of content. So maybe it's not a very, very good time now post-COVID where every second person has become a YouTuber.
Right.
So I think just start small. Maybe with 2-minute, 3-minute videos, which you send to people. I have seen people making mistakes. For example, if they start making content on IFRS, they make 40-minute videos, 50-minute videos. and make 7 of them and they expect people to watch. वो नहीं होता है. You got to create snippets, create that, spark that attention, give people the context before the detail, typical neurosciences, and see what you're really good at, where you can really add a lot of content. Maybe, you know, and you can pick up a niche, for example, cooking, or, I mean, the objective has to be very clear that what do you really want to emerge? Let's say posting content continuously after 3 years, what do you want to be famous for? As a food blogger, or the travel enthusiast, or someone who is good on careers, or maybe financial markets, stocks. That objective has to be clear in that journey. Like any typical startup, any typical entrepreneurial journey, initially things are not going to be as rosy as you would have thought.
Right.
And that actually becomes the most frustrating part, even for established social media influencers, because you are creating content spontaneously. Some is going to become super hit, some will not be hit, typical Bollywood. You got, but initially it's a very lonely journey. You are sitting in your room, akela, and maybe you are pushing your wife ki bhai front camera se shoot kar dena. Back camera se it becomes a challenge. And she said, koi darkar nahi hai, 200 view bhi to aata nahi hai aapka.
Yeah.
That becomes a thoda sa challenge. But yeah, once you attain critical mass, then the algorithm also helps you. You know, so it's like a typical thing. Once you keep trying, there'll be one thing where you will suddenly realize, hey, I was making this mistake.
Okay.
And then you will realize ki, now I'll do some course correction. Maybe the example of thumbnails which I gave you, that was a big critical mistake that I was doing.
Right.
So वैसा है. And मतलब I always think ना कि आपको, if you're passionate about something, you should leap into it. Take a leap of faith. मतलब धंधा फिर बहुत कुछ सिखा देता है, no? There's no real theoretical thing. People today are making courses about everything. So if you go to Facebook, people can, in 999 rupees, make you a public speaker. They can make you an entrepreneur. They can make you good digital marketing. ऐसा नहीं होता है. I mean, they are just selling and.
I understand.
धंधे में घुसो, आपको समझा देगा धंधा. So for example, you know, coaching business. From the sidelines, you can make a lot of whiteboard assumptions कि ये होगा, and there are so many people. But once you start a center, you would have seen that initially. How do you attract the first 5 students, 10 students to walk in and give the good feedback? It spreads through word of mouth. You realize that digital marketing spends are useless. Word of mouth is what helps. So that dhanda will teach you. You really can't learn it from someone else, maybe.
So just get started, be patient, essentially, right? Because it's going to come eventually, you're saying. And be ready for the negative criticism. Because that I know for a fact is the most scary thing for somebody who's starting the first time. If you're not used to posting it since you were a kid, then the biggest fear is, you know, one is to criticism. The second is, what if nobody notices? I don't get good or bad feedback. That is another thing I've heard. So, and by default, all of us go through it. So, I think listening to you, so I have, you know, this one question that we ask everybody towards the end of our podcast is, when it comes, because you understand the Indian education system, at least from the commerce field, from a macro level, right? We know that in the West, people are now going more from degree-based, the degree-centric world to a skill-centric world, right? What do you think for India? Are we, and by the way, you can split this into tier 1 and then tier 2 and 3 separately, because I know there's a difference. The tier 2, tier 3 are still much more traditional, much more, degree chahiye, graduation chahiye. But for
tier 1,
sorry?
Degree bina shadi nahi hogi na.
Degree bina shadi nahi hogi. Yeah, absolutely right. So that is still a few years, quite a few years behind. But when it comes to still tier 1, or people who want to come to tier 1, have you seen any shift? Have you seen any, not only interest being developed for skill-based, but employment, people recognizing that, yes, if somebody, to your point, if somebody is not cleared a final CA, but as an inter CA can work in a startup, has the skill sets, then we'll, reward them accordingly. Do you see a shift going from degree-based to skill-based?
Oh, so absolutely. I mean, there's a big shift, and there are certain pivots. Major drivers for that. One, COVID has really accelerated our shift towards the gig economy. Mm-hmm. So today, work from home, work from anywhere has become a very, very well accepted norm. you pay people for outcomes. So, sitting in Calcutta, I have made financial models for Bollywood stars for the YouTube channels and help them raise funds. It can happen today in a digital world. Would not have really happened earlier. So that can happen. So that one push is
financial
COVID.
model for Bollywood stars. That's so interesting. It's so different.
Yeah. So, if they're composing music, how do you calculate the lifetime value of a video?
Wow.
In terms of what it can generate on YouTube, in terms of ads, what it can generate on a audio streaming, Ghana, Spotify, in terms of stream, then endorsements are going to come in. So you compare that lifetime value with the initial upfront cost that you're going to spend 7-8 lakh rupees to create that video. And then what is the production calendar, how much digital spend they are going to do, and then try to give some sense of to some prospective investor कि भाई इसमें अगर 10% stake up उठाते हो, so this is the potential.
Wow. I think after this in the near future, I will request you to come and show, like I'll get our audience as students who can come live and listen to this as a case study for an hour. Maybe you can show them a little bit to give them exposure, because this is a very unique case study, a unique proposition which somebody has received. I doubt anybody could even imagine this happening unless it's by coincidence.
No, certainly it is now a reality, and you get different concepts. So maybe right now we would be working on someone who is doing crockery and who wants to become the lens cart of crockery in the country, and how do you help him raise funds? And so the focus is that today's skills have become really very, very important. So for example, in education also, that concept of classroom coaching, I am a big fan of that because of that eye contact, that physical energy that you get in terms of the aura of the teacher. But still today, online education, for example, has opened big doors. You are not. So one, COVID-19 that push towards digitalization, to the startups. So today, if you without degrees, the traditional HR of a large corporate is not going to open doors for you. But you talk to someone who is a startup founder and say, okay, this is what I bring to the table. And that guy is not obsessed with degrees because he's also just started. He has a difficulty in attracting those branded guys from the market. B, he does not have the salaries. And C, he has got a lot of hunger. He just wants that hunger in you to grow. So startups, for example, have opened doors to a lot of people who want to do well in life. So startups, for example, as I told you, are paying 15 lakh rupees per annum to semi-qualified chartered accountants. And skills. So I was interviewing one of the IIM Ahmedabad professors, Arvind Sahai sir, on my channel, and he said that in the future you never know that instead of MBA, a master's in some field, let's say statistics, along with skill sets in data analytics, will help you fetch as good a job as a branded MBA from a tier 1 college, because the entry barrier there is more difficult. Here it is more skill set based. And so for example, I have seen designers today in the gig economy doing exceptional work. So there are a lot of companies which want to do migration to Ind AS, for example. They don't want to hire large firms because they are going to then charge them through the nose 6 lakhs, 10 lakhs. They might as well hire a guy who's good, who can do that assignment for maybe a fraction of that cost. So possibilities today are much more than they would be. And LinkedIn, for example, has democratized things in terms you can access, let's say, a partner of a Big Four also and say, sir, I want to intern under you. I don't have that degree. My 2 papers are still pending. Right. But as far as what you want, let's say skill sets and transfer pricing, I have that skill set.
True. So Anurag, thank you so much. I think we are running out of time. So guys, first of all, please do follow Anurag. Anurag, if somebody would like to reach out to you personally to ask you anything, guidance, the amount of exposure you have, and pick your brain from there, what is the best way for them to reach you?
So they can reach me on any social media handle, LinkedIn, or my email, which is there in the description of any of my YouTube channel. Generally, people post comments on the YouTube videos. I try to get time on that. We are also launching a consulting app soon called toconsult.com, where there'll be all mentors which are going to be there, and you can just call them up and ask your questions. कहीं ना कहीं आप खोजोगे तो मैं मिल जाऊंगा आपको online.
This has been superb. Yeah. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Pratham.
hopefully we'll do this again soon. Yeah.
And thanks. And I would want to congratulate you also for the good work that you're doing in ACCA space, because it also adds a lot of hope to people that, see, देखो India में क्या है ना, once you start, ACCA today is also giving good salaries to people, at least, 5-6 lakhs, 7 lakhs, respectable salaries, Big Four ka brand, Grant Thornton, BDO. So at least you are on some standing in life, and then you can always supplement that, go to Canada, take a PR, a lot of good things. Once the starting is the most important. So thank you for the good work that also you are doing in the space of education, because I have always felt that education empowers a middle class guy. We don't have an inherited legacy of factories and mines. Our legacy is the intelligence and maybe education. So thank you for the good work that you are doing. I wish you the very best for your future as well.
That is so kind. Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's do this again.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey.